Okay, so we've talked about things to think about before you start a screencast. We've talked about things to think about while you are recording the screencast. Last but not least, what can you do after you have recorded your screencast to make it a little bit better? Well, here's some ideas. Tip number one is to think about taking out mistakes in a video editor. Now, we talked about this when we were recording a screencast. We talked about not stopping when we make a mistake, just keeping going. So this is the point where you, as the editor, get to choose, is this just a human error thing? Is this just me stumbling over my words? Or is this something that I really need to take out because it's in the wrong order and I stopped and I redid that last paragraph? So very quick, very easy. If you get to know a video editor, you will get to know some great skills that can help improve your screencast. Here's number two. Tip number two is to cut out the loading time for websites and applications with a video editor. Now, sometimes you're doing a screencast and you navigate to a website and you're sitting there and you're waiting for it to load, and sometimes you start filling in extra words and things just while you're waiting, and people don't really need to see that. People really don't need to wait for that. So with a video editor, what you can do is you can trim out the part where the website is loading. So when you're recording, think about that later. Think about, well, I can take this out later. Pause, wait for the website or whatever it is to load properly, and then cut that out later. It's going to trim down the overall length of your video, and people will thank you for it because they won't have to sit and watch a loading screen. Tip number three is to think about maybe some text labels, some annotations, things that you can have on the screen while you are recording to give maybe some extra information. Now, you'll have seen those appear on some of the videos that I've done for you. Just things in the bottom left-hand corner to give you a little tip or idea about what it is I'm talking about at that particular time. So these are not all that difficult to do, not as hard as you might think, and sometimes they can be a great way to fix mistakes. If you don't want to go back and edit something out, or you don't have the ability to go back and edit something out, you can add a little call out box or something, just owning up to your mistake and saying what that should be at that particular point in the video. So tip number four is another accessibility tip. We've talked about using the accessibility options on our computers to help us with screencasting, but this time I'm thinking about closed captions for video. Now, later we'll look at YouTube and putting videos up into YouTube, because YouTube does a great job of automatically adding captions to a video, and you can see an example of that here on the screen. Now, captions are great for students who may need that extra accommodation, but sometimes in noisy classrooms or noisy households at home, when students are watching videos, there's no reason why they can't turn on the closed captions, whether they need it due to some kind of disability or whether they don't. It can help clarify some of the language, it can help students understand more about what's going on in the screen, and it can even be a great way to help encourage reading fluency as well if students are seeing the words as they are being spoken. So the only caveat to that is you might want to make sure that if you're putting things up into YouTube that your captions are accurate and correct, and for the most part they will be, but inside of YouTube you do have the option to go in and edit and make them the best captions that they can be. So tip number five is to think about citing your sources. It's something that we want all of our students to be doing, so you could do a great job at modeling this for your students by doing it in your own screencasts. If you have used images or video or music or any kind of media from other places, it's a great idea to show that digital citizenship model by citing your sources at the end of a screencast video. So there you go, some options that you can think about when you are editing and putting the final touches on your screencast. I look forward to seeing how that makes a difference to the ones that you're creating.